They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I never believed that until the day I walked into my old office building as the new vice president and saw Marcus sitting in his cubicle, still in the same position he'd stolen from me 5 years ago. But let me start from the beginning, because this story is about more than just revenge. It's about patience, strategy, and the sweet, sweet taste of justice. 5 years ago, I was just another ambitious analyst at TechVision Solutions, a mid-sized software company in downtown Seattle. I'd been there for 3 years, working my way up from an entry-level position, dreaming of the day I'd finally get my shot at leading a major project. The office smelled like stale coffee and broken dreams most days, with fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry wasps trapped in glass cages. I remember the exact moment everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning in March. Rain hammered against the windows, turning the city into a blurred watercolor painting. I'd spent 6 months developing a revolutionary customer retention algorithm that could predict client churn with 94% accuracy. 6 months of late nights, missed dinners, and relationships that crumbled because I was married to my work. The presentation was scheduled for 2 p.m. I'd rehearsed it 50 times. Every slide was perfect. Every word was calculated. This was my ticket to senior analyst, maybe even project lead. I could almost taste the promotion. But when I walked into the conference room that afternoon, something felt wrong. The air was thick with anticipation, but not the kind I'd expected. Marcus was already there, sitting at the head of the table with my laptop in front of him. My laptop, my presentation, my life's work. "Sorry, buddy," he'd said with that snake oil smile of his. "I had to step in. You seemed really stressed lately, so I took the liberty of finalizing the presentation. You know, team effort and all that?" I felt my stomach drop to my shoes. The leather chairs suddenly felt too hard, too cold. My hands started shaking. "What are you talking about?" I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. Our manager, Susan, walked in before Marcus could answer. She had this look on her face, the kind that said she'd already made up her mind about something. Her perfume was too strong, choking the air out of the room. "Gentlemen, let's get started. Marcus, I understand you've prepared something impressive for us." I tried to interrupt, I really did. But Marcus was already talking, using my words, my research, my algorithm. He explained it flawlessly because he'd watched me rehearse it through the glass walls of the conference room. He'd studied every gesture, every pause, every inflection. The executives loved it. Of course they did. It was brilliant, because it was mine. After the meeting, I confronted him in the hallway. The carpet muffled our voices, but I could hear my heart pounding in my ears like war drums. "You stole my work," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Marcus laughed. Actually, laughed. "Prove it," he said, his breath reeking of the garlic pizza he'd had for lunch. "All the files are on my computer. All the emails are from my account. Who's going to believe you?" He was right. I'd been stupid. So focused on the work itself that I hadn't protected myself. I'd shared everything with him because we were supposed to be teammates, partners. I'd trusted him. That betrayal felt like a knife between my ribs, slow and precise. 2 weeks later, Marcus got the promotion I dreamed about. Project lead, corner office, 30% salary increase. He even got to present at the annual industry conference. My algorithm became his legacy. I went to HR. I went to Susan. I went to everyone who would listen. But Marcus had covered his tracks perfectly. Every document trail led back to him. He'd even created fake Slack messages showing him mentoring me through the process. "Sometimes these things happen in collaborative environments," HR told me. "Their voice is flat and bureaucratic. It's hard to prove individual contribution." I was crushed, destroyed. I'd spent 3 years building my reputation, and in one afternoon, Marcus had stolen it all. The injustice of it burned in my chest like acid. But here's the thing about betrayal. It either breaks you or forges you into something stronger. I chose the latter. That night, I sat in my tiny apartment, surrounded by half-empty Chinese takeout containers and the blue glow of my laptop screen. The city lights twinkled outside my window. Indifferent to my pain, I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to fight this battle on their terms. I was going to leave, but not in defeat, in strategy. I spent the next month quietly documenting everything. Every email Marcus had sent me asking for advice. Every draft I'd created with timestamps. Every piece of code I'd written with my unique commenting style embedded in it. I saved it all in encrypted cloud storage that only I could access. Then I resigned. Susan seemed almost relieved. "Sometimes a fresh start is what we need," she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Marcus didn't even bother saying goodbye. I landed a job at DataCore Industries within 3 weeks. It was a smaller company, but they were hungry, growing. The CEO, Jennifer Walsh, was a former engineer who'd built the company from nothing. She understood talent when she saw it. "Show me what you can do," she'd said during my final interview, her gray eyes sharp and assessing. So I did. I rebuilt my algorithm from scratch. Better this time. Smarter. I added machine learning components that I'd only theorized about before. I worked 70-hour weeks, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. This time, every line of code was documented under my name. Every innovation was patented with my signature. The algorithm didn't just predict customer churn, it prevented it. It saved DataCore millions in the first year alone. Jennifer noticed. 6 months in, I was promoted to senior data scientist. A year after that, team lead. I was building something real, something mine. The taste of success was sweeter because I'd earned it honestly. But I never forgot Marcus. How could I? Every time I saw my reflection in the office windows, I remembered that conference room, that theft, that injustice. I watched TechVision from afar. Through LinkedIn updates and industry newsletters, I tracked Marcus's career. He'd leveraged his algorithm into a senior project lead position. He was speaking at conferences, writing articles, building a reputation on my foundation. It made me sick, but it also made me focused. 3 years after leaving TechVision, DataCore acquired a major contract with one of the biggest tech companies in the world. Our valuation tripled. Jennifer promoted me to Director of Analytics. I was 32 years old and leading a team of 40 people. And then, fate handed me the most beautiful gift I could have imagined. TechVision was struggling. Their stock had dropped 40% in 18 months. They'd failed to innovate, relying too heavily on outdated systems and old algorithms. The same algorithm Marcus had stolen was now obsolete, outpaced by newer technologies. DataCore was considering an acquisition. I could barely breathe when Jennifer called me into her office that morning. The mahogany desk gleamed under the recessed lighting, and through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city stretched out like a game board. "We're looking at TechVision," she said. "I need you to lead the due diligence team. Analyze their technology, their processes, their people. Tell me if they're worth saving." My heart was hammering so hard I thought she could hear it. "I used to work there," I said carefully. "I know," Jennifer replied, a slight smile playing at her lips. "That's why you're perfect for this." The next 2 months were surreal. I dug into TechVision's operations with surgical precision. I reviewed every project, every team member, every line of code. I found inefficiencies that were costing them millions. I found outdated security protocols. I found the same old algorithm Marcus had stolen, barely updated, groaning under the weight of modern data loads. And I found Marcus, still in his position, still coasting on that one stolen success from 5 years ago. My report to Jennifer was thorough and honest. TechVision had good bones, I told her, but they needed massive restructuring, new leadership, new blood, a complete overhaul. "If we acquire them," I said, "I recommend integrating their teams into our structure. We'd need to evaluate every position, keep the talent, and remove the dead weight." "Who would you put in charge of the transition?" Jennifer asked. "Someone who knows the company inside and out. Someone who understands both where they've been and where they need to go," she smiled. "Interested in a promotion, Director Hayes?" Vice President of Integrated Analytics. That was my new title. At 33 years old, I would be overseeing both DataCore's analytics division and the entire technology department of our newly acquired subsidiary, TechVision Solutions. The day I walked back into that building felt like a fever dream. The same lobby with its modern art sculptures that looked like twisted metal screams. The same security guard who nodded at me without recognition. The same elevator that moved too slowly, giving you too much time to think. But everything was different now. I wasn't the desperate analyst anymore. I was the VP. I held the power. The all-hands meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. I'd insisted on it. I wanted everyone to see this, to understand what was happening. I walked into that conference room, the same one where Marcus had stolen my future, and this time I stood at the head of the table. The executives sat along the sides, and there in the back row was Marcus. His face had gone white when I walked in, pale as bone china. He knew. Oh, he knew. "Good morning," I said, my voice steady and clear. "For those who don't remember me, my name is Daniel Hayes. I worked here 5 years ago as a data analyst. Today, I'm your new vice president of integrated analytics." The room was silent. You could have heard a pin drop on the plush carpet. Over the next 3 months, we'll be restructuring this entire division. We're going to build something innovative, something honest, something that rewards actual talent and contribution, not theft and deception. I looked directly at Marcus when I said that last part. His hands were gripping the edge of the table, knuckles white as snow. After the meeting, I asked Marcus to stay behind, just the two of us. The door clicked shut with a sound like a cell locking. "You remember me now, don't you?" I said quietly. He couldn't speak, just nodded. "5 years ago, you stole my work, my algorithm, my future. You looked me in the eye and told me to prove it." Marcus found his voice, thin and reedy. "Daniel, look, that was a long time ago. We were different people. Maybe we can—" "I'm not finished," I interrupted. The air between us crackled with tension. "I want you to know something. I could fire you right now. I have that power. Your entire career is in my hands." I let that sink in for a moment. Watched the fear bloom in his eyes like ink spreading through water. "But I'm not going to do that. Not yet." Confusion replaced fear on his face. "You're going to be reassigned," I continued. "Back to entry-level analyst. Same position I had when you stole from me. Same cubicle, actually. I made sure of it." "You can't," he started. "I absolutely can. It's in the restructuring plan, approved by the board. You're going to learn what it feels like to have everything taken from you. You're going to experience exactly what you put me through." The fluorescent lights hummed above us. Somewhere in the building, a phone rang. Life going on, indifferent to this moment of reckoning. "And here's the beautiful part," I said, leaning forward. "You're going to work directly under Sarah Chen. Remember her? The junior analyst you used to belittle? She's going to be your supervisor. And every single day, you're going to report to her. And you're going to remember this conversation." Marcus's face had gone from white to red. "This is revenge. This is petty." "No," I said calmly. "Revenge would be firing you, ruining your reputation, making sure you never work in this industry again. I could do all of that. I have the emails you sent me. The original drafts with my unique coding signatures. The timestamps that prove I created that algorithm. I watched him process that. The realization that I'd had the evidence all along. But I'm not going to use them," I continued. "I'm going to give you exactly what you gave me. A chance to prove yourself. If you can rebuild your career honestly this time, starting from the bottom, then maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll become the person you pretended to be." I stood up, buttoning my suit jacket. The fabric felt expensive, well-earned. "Or maybe you'll fail. Maybe you'll quit. Maybe you'll finally face the fact that you were never as good as you thought you were. Either way, I win." I walked to the door, then paused. "Oh, and Marcus? Welcome to my team." The next 6 months were transformative. I restructured the entire division, bringing in new talent, promoting people based on actual merit. Sarah Chen became one of my best team leads. She had a natural gift for mentoring that I'd never seen before. Marcus lasted 3 months before he resigned. He couldn't handle the humiliation, the demotion, the daily reminder of his own mediocrity. His resignation letter was brief and bitter. I didn't feel triumphant when he left. I felt complete, like a circle had finally closed. But the story doesn't end there. Because the best revenge isn't just bringing someone down. It's building yourself up so high that their betrayal becomes nothing more than a footnote in your success story. 2 years after the acquisition, I was promoted to Senior Vice President. I've published papers on predictive analytics. I speak at conferences, not because I stole someone else's work, but because I earned my expertise through years of honest effort. I mentor young analysts and teach them to protect their work, to document everything, to trust but verify. TechVision's analytics division is now the crown jewel of DataCore's portfolio. We've won industry awards. We've tripled our revenue. We've become exactly what I dreamed we could be. I still have Marcus's resignation letter in my desk drawer. Sometimes I look at it and remember that scared, angry analyst who lost everything 5 years ago. I remember the pain of betrayal, the burning desire for revenge, the long nights plotting my return. But mostly, I remember the decision I made in that tiny apartment with the Chinese takeout and the city lights. The decision to not let bitterness destroy me, to use my anger as fuel instead of poison, to build something better instead of just tearing someone else down. They say living well is the best revenge. I'd modify that slightly. Building well is the best revenge. Creating something undeniable. Becoming someone irreplaceable. Rising so high that the person who tried to bury you can't even see you anymore. Marcus taught me something valuable, even if he didn't mean to. He taught me that talent without integrity is worthless. That stolen success is hollow. That the shortcuts people take will eventually lead them in circles. Last month, I saw him on LinkedIn. He's working at a small startup now, a significant step down from where he could have been if he'd built his career honestly. His profile still mentions his algorithm from TechVision, but the industry has moved on. So have I. I don't think about Marcus much anymore. I'm too busy building the future, mentoring the next generation, and enjoying the career I earned through sweat, tears, and an unwavering commitment to doing things the right way. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm working on a new project in my corner office with the view of the entire city, I allow myself a small smile, because I know that somewhere out there, Marcus remembers. He remembers the analyst whose work he stole. He remembers the day that analyst walked back into his life as his boss. And he remembers the lesson I taught him. You can steal someone's work, but you can't steal their worth. The best revenge isn't destruction, it's evolution. It's becoming so successful that their betrayal becomes the best thing that ever happened to you because it forced you to become better than you ever imagined. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I served mine at room temperature, with a side of professional excellence and a generous portion of poetic justice. And it tasted absolutely perfect. You're probably wondering what happened after Marcus left. Well, the story gets even more interesting. About a year after Marcus resigned, I received an unexpected email. It was from a recruiter at one of the biggest tech companies in Silicon Valley. They were headhunting me for a C-suite position, Chief Technology Officer. The salary was 7 figures. Stock options that could set me up for life. I was tempted. God, I was tempted. But something stopped me from accepting immediately. I thought about Jennifer, the CEO who'd believed in me when I was just a broken analyst looking for a second chance. I thought about Sarah Chen and the rest of my team, people who'd worked so hard to build something meaningful. I thought about the culture we'd created at DataCore, one based on honesty, merit, and genuine innovation. Money isn't everything. Power isn't everything. Sometimes, loyalty and integrity matter more. I declined the offer and instead negotiated a partnership deal with DataCore. Jennifer made me a co-owner. We expanded internationally. We acquired 2 more companies in the next 18 months. And you know what's funny? That same Silicon Valley company that tried to recruit me? They ended up hiring Marcus as a senior analyst. I found out through mutual contacts. He's probably telling them all about his revolutionary algorithm right now, hoping they don't dig too deep into the actual origins. Some people never learn. Meanwhile, I received an email from Susan, my old manager at TechVision. She'd been let go during the restructuring, and she wanted to apologize. She said she'd always known something was off about Marcus's presentation that day, but she'd been under pressure from upper management to show results. She'd chosen the easy path instead of the right one. I appreciated her honesty, but I didn't offer her a job. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ashes. The most unexpected development came from an unlikely source, Marcus's own family. His younger brother Kevin reached out to me on LinkedIn. He wanted to meet for coffee. I was suspicious at first, but curiosity got the better of me. We met at a small cafe downtown. The rain was falling again, just like it had been that day 5 years ago. Kevin was younger than Marcus, maybe 25, with nervous energy and genuine eyes. "I need to tell you something," Kevin said, stirring his coffee without drinking it. "Marcus has been lying to our family for years. He told us he created some groundbreaking algorithm. He's been using it to impress our parents, to justify his career choices, to make himself look successful. I listened without interrupting. But last month, I was visiting him at his new job, and I overheard his colleagues talking. They were laughing about how he keeps bringing up this old algorithm from his previous company, but he can't seem to replicate that success. One of them even joked that maybe he didn't actually create it. Kevin looked up at me, and I saw the weight of realization in his eyes. That's when I started digging. I found old articles, LinkedIn posts, corporate documents, and I found your name. Your actual name, credited in the original patent applications before they were mysteriously amended. Daniel Hayes, the real creator. The coffee shop suddenly felt very small. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Kevin's hands were shaking slightly. Because I'm about to graduate with a computer science degree, and I've been offered a job at the same startup where Marcus works, but I don't want to be like him. I don't want to build my career on lies and stolen credit. I want to earn my success honestly. He pulled out a folder from his bag and slid it across the table. These are copies of everything I found. Emails between Marcus and our parents where he talks about his algorithm. Screenshots of him taking credit in industry forums. Everything. I thought you might want them, in case you ever need to set the record straight publicly. I stared at the folder, then back at Kevin. What do you want from me? I asked carefully. Nothing, he said quickly. I don't want a job. I don't want money. I just wanted you to know the truth is still out there, and not everyone in my family is like my brother. I'm ashamed of what he did to you, and I wanted to apologize on behalf of people who share his last name, but not his character. I've met a lot of people in my career. Brilliant minds, cunning strategists, ruthless competitors, but genuine integrity? That's rare. Kevin had it. I didn't take the folder. Instead, I took out my business card and wrote my personal email on the back. Keep those documents safe, I said. Not for me, but for yourself. Documentation protects honest people from dishonest ones. That's a lesson I learned the hard way. I slid the card across the table. And when you start your career, remember this moment. Remember that you had a choice to be like your brother or to be better. You chose better. That matters more than any algorithm ever could. Kevin's eyes were glistening. He nodded, unable to speak. If you ever need advice, a reference, or just someone to talk to about the pressures of this industry, email me. No strings attached, just one honest professional to another. We shook hands, and I left the cafe feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Hope for the next generation. That encounter changed something in me. I realized that my revenge against Marcus was never really about him. It was about proving to myself that integrity could win in a world that often rewarded shortcuts. It was about building a career so solid that no one could ever take it from me again. But more importantly, it was about becoming the kind of leader who could inspire people like Kevin to choose the harder, better path. 6 months after that coffee meeting, Kevin sent me an email. He'd declined the job at Marcus's startup and instead accepted a position at a company known for its ethical culture and strong mentorship programs. He was thriving. And he wasn't the only one. Word spread about DataCore's culture, about how we valued genuine talent and protected our people's work. We started attracting the kind of employees who wanted to build something meaningful, not just chase titles and money. We became known in the industry as the company that did things the right way. Ironically, that reputation made us more successful than companies that cut corners ever could be. Meanwhile, Marcus's career continued its slow decline. His startup failed after 2 years. He bounced between companies, never staying longer than 18 months. His LinkedIn profile became a graveyard of short-term positions and inflated accomplishments that anyone with industry knowledge could see through. I heard through the grapevine that he'd tried to reach out to former colleagues, asking for references or connections. Most of them declined. Word gets around in this industry about who you can trust and who you can't. The last I heard, he was working as a consultant, selling his expertise to companies that didn't know his history. He'd created a personal brand around that stolen algorithm, but the foundation was sand. Eventually, every house built on sand collapses. As for me, I'm exactly where I want to be, leading a company I helped build, mentoring young professionals, speaking at conferences about data analytics and, increasingly, about professional ethics and workplace integrity. Last year, I was invited to give the keynote speech at a major industry conference. The same conference where Marcus had once presented his algorithm. The irony wasn't lost on me. I stood on that stage, looking out at thousands of professionals. and I told my story. Not to shame Marcus, I didn't even use his name. But to illustrate a point, your reputation is the only thing in this industry that truly belongs to you. Everything else, titles, companies, even innovations, can be taken or lost. But your reputation, your integrity, that's yours to build or destroy. The speech went viral. It was shared on LinkedIn millions of times. I received hundreds of messages from people who'd experienced similar betrayals, who felt validated and inspired to rebuild their careers honestly. One message stood out. It was from Susan, my old manager. "I should have stood up for you," she wrote. "I knew something was wrong, but I chose to look the other way. I've regretted it every day since. Thank you for showing that. Doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when it takes years, is always worth it." I forgave Susan that day. Not because what she did was okay, but because holding on to anger was poisoning only me, not her. That's the real lesson I learned from all of this. Revenge isn't about destroying the person who wronged you. It's about refusing to let their actions destroy you. It's about building something so beautiful, so successful, so undeniably yours that their betrayal becomes just a small chapter in a much larger, much more triumphant story. Marcus stole 6 months of my work, but in doing so, he accidentally gave me something far more valuable: the motivation to become unstoppable, the determination to build a career that no one could ever take from me, the wisdom to value integrity over shortcuts. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I'd add to that, what doesn't kill you can make you legendary if you choose to rise instead of fall. 5 years ago, I was a broken analyst, sitting in a tiny apartment, wondering if justice existed in the corporate world. Today, I'm living proof that it does, but only if you're willing to be patient, strategic, and utterly committed to building something real. The best revenge isn't a moment. It's a lifetime of success that makes your betrayer's theft look like the petty, desperate act it always was. And every single day, when I walk into my office and see my name on that door, when I mentor young professionals and protect their work, when I make decisions that affect thousands of employees and millions in revenue, I smile. Because I won. Not by destroying Marcus, but by becoming someone he could never be. Genuinely successful, honestly accomplished, and completely irreplaceable. That's the revenge that lasts forever.